The mystery of the Old Saybrook Blockheads encounter. In the quiet coastal town of Old Saybrook, one of the most unusual humanoid encounters in American folklore reportedly unfolded during the year 1957. Unlike sightings involving familiar cryptids or ghostly figures, this incident stood apart because of the sheer strangeness of the beings involved. Witnesses struggled to describe what they saw, eventually giving rise to the unsettling name that still lingers today: the Blockheads. One evening, a local resident stepped outside his home after hearing unfamiliar sounds coming from the edge of his yard. The noises were not loud or aggressive, but strange enough to prompt curiosity. As he approached the boundary of his property, his porch light illuminated two small figures standing near the tree line. They were no more than about 3 feet tall, yet nothing about them resembled children or known animals. Each figure possessed a perfectly square head, sharply defined and block-like in shape. The heads appeared featureless, lacking any recognizable facial structure, except for 2 dark circular openings where eyes should have been. There was no visible mouth, nose, or expression, giving the figures an eerily artificial presence. Their bodies were covered in tight, metallic-looking suits that reflected the porch light with a dull shimmer, further adding to the sense that these beings were not organic in nature. The witness observed that their movements were stiff and unnatural. Rather than walking fluidly, the figures seemed to imitate motion, as though copying the concept of walking without fully understanding it. The scene felt mechanical, deliberate, and deeply unsettling. As the blockheads turned toward the man, they did not speak or gesture. Instead, they produced a low, buzzing hum, a sound unlike any natural noise he had encountered before. Moments later, without any sudden rush or visible alarm, the 2 figures retreated into the woods. Their jerky movements continued as they vanished into the darkness, leaving the witness alone in stunned silence. When the encounter was later reported, it raised far more questions than answers. No footprints were discovered. No marks were left behind. There was no physical evidence to explain what had occurred. Over time, speculation surrounding the Old Saybrook Blockheads grew. Some believe the beings were visitors from beyond Earth, while others suggest they may have been robotic probes or experimental entities. Whatever their true nature, the Blockheads remain one of the most disturbing and unexplained encounters in Connecticut's history, a mystery defined by silence, geometry, and a moment that defied understanding. Mysterious apparition. This photograph appears ordinary at first glance, capturing a fleeting summer moment of 3 young children leaning over a fence. The image feels warm and familiar, the kind of candid snapshot that families treasure for its innocence and simplicity. Yet hidden within the darkness beyond the fence is a detail that has transformed this picture into something deeply unsettling. Behind the children, partially obscured by shadow, a face can be seen staring directly toward them. The features are faint but unmistakable. 2 reflective eyes catch the light, positioned at an unnatural height and distance, giving the impression of an observer standing silently just beyond the fence line. The expression appears fixed and intent, creating an eerie contrast to the carefree posture of the children in the foreground. What makes the image even more disturbing is the location. On the opposite side of the fence lies a cemetery, a place long associated with stillness, memory, and unseen presence. The photograph was taken during the summer months, well away from Halloween or any time when costumes or decorations might explain the figure. The original poster made it clear that this was not a mask, nor was anyone else present when the photo was taken. The face does not resemble any of the children, nor does it align naturally with shadows or foliage. Its placement appears deliberate, as though something was standing just out of sight, watching quietly. The fence, usually a symbol of separation and safety, becomes a fragile barrier between the living moment in the foreground and something unknown beyond it. Viewers who have studied the image often describe a sense of unease that grows the longer they look. The children seem unaware, frozen in a moment of joy, while the figure behind them appears timeless and still. No explanation has ever been confirmed, and no similar photos were taken that evening. The image remains a haunting reminder that sometimes the most unsettling mysteries hide in plain sight, revealed only when an ordinary moment is examined just a little too closely. The mystery of David Glenn Lewis. The case of David Glenn Lewis remains one of the most perplexing, unresolved mysteries in modern American history. A respected attorney and devoted family man, Lewis vanished under circumstances that defy explanation and continue to trouble investigators and observers decades later. What makes his story so unsettling is not only his sudden disappearance, but the extraordinary distance and strange conditions under which he was later found. On the 31st of January 1993, Lewis was last known to be at his home in Amarillo. When his wife and young daughter returned, they discovered an eerie scene frozen in time. Sandwiches Lewis had prepared were left untouched, and laundry remained in the washing machine mid-cycle. There were no signs of a struggle, no note, and no indication that he planned to leave. He simply appeared to have stepped away from his ordinary life without explanation. 2 nights later, on the 1st of February 1993, motorists travelling along State Route 24 near Moxie noticed a lone man walking along the roadway close to Rivard Road. Concerned for his safety, several drivers turned around to warn others. When they returned, the man had been struck by a passing vehicle that did not stop. Emergency responders arrived quickly, but the man did not survive the incident. At the time, no one realized who he was. The individual carried no identification, and his fingerprints did not immediately lead to a match. It would take 11 years before authorities confirmed that the man found along the highway was David Glenn Lewis. By then, the mystery had only deepened. Lewis was 39 years old and had been located more than 1,600 miles from his home, in a region where he had no known friends, family, or professional ties. How he traveled from Texas to central Washington remains unknown. There were no confirmed airline records, vehicle sightings, or financial transactions that could explain the journey. Even more puzzling was his appearance. At the time he was found, Lewis was wearing military-style camouflage clothing and work boots, items his family stated did not belong to him. No luggage or personal belongings were ever recovered, and no explanation has surfaced for why he was dressed this way. The cause of his passing was attributed to injuries consistent with being struck by a vehicle, yet the driver was never identified. Without witnesses or physical evidence tying the incident to another party, it remains unclear whether outside involvement played a role. Today, the case of David Glenn Lewis stands as a haunting reminder of how an ordinary life can intersect with extraordinary mystery. Jeremiah Jamal Parker. On the 11th of April, back in 2004, a 19-year-old American man would be reported missing after visiting the North Sherwood Forest Park located in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Several theories have connected Jeremiah Parker's bizarre disappearance with the Honey Island swamp monster, as the location of his disappearance runs adjacent to US Highway 12, a major traffic way that runs straight through the Louisiana Honey Island swamp and has been at the center of a number of impossible-to-explain eyewitness encounters of the monster. According to the official missing persons report, at around 6 in the evening, on April 11th, on Easter Sunday, Jeremiah Parker had journeyed to the North Sherwood Forest Park for a moment of relaxation. Accompanying Mr. Parker was his cousin, who has chosen to remain unidentified. According to the cousin, while Mr. Parker was with him, they had been talking about a movie that Jeremiah had recently seen and was deeply moved by. Suddenly, Mr. Parker's cousin claimed that Jeremiah decided to park at the North Sherwood Forest Park for some unknown reason and stepped out of his vehicle, leaving him in the car with the engine still running. After waiting for a few minutes, the cousin would step out of the vehicle to look for his cousin, who was nowhere to be found. When investigators combed the region shortly after, Jeremiah Parker's cell phone and one of his shoes were later found in an area behind a row of trees that rested adjacent to a large fishing pond, believing that Parker must have been through the region, though no other sign of him was recovered. The official missing persons report would describe that Parker was last seen wearing a white t-shirt, grey shorts, an LA Dodgers baseball cap, and a pair of Nike shoes, with no other items accompanying him at the time of his disappearance. Without looking into the incident too much further, as well as there being no body to recover, investigators believed that Jeremiah Parker must have disappeared and travelled out of state for personal reasons, with the belief that the 19-year-old may have left for Canada. Parker's family, however, refuses to believe the conclusions of the investigators, citing that Jeremiah was never known for leaving his home for more than a day at a time and always returning before dark. Given the rather scrawny nature of Jeremiah Parker, with physical dimensions described by family as being approximately 120 pounds and only roughly 5.5 feet tall, it was uncharacteristic of him to suddenly disappear without telling anyone. Additionally, the family claimed that Jeremiah Parker was still in the middle of finishing up his associate's degree from the Baton Rouge Community College at the time of his disappearance, a small degree that he was still paying for while working at the local Wendy's old-fashioned hamburgers fast food joint. Investigators would later learn, however, that Jeremiah Parker had made several statements to family members about him leaving soon after he had watched a movie that gave him an intense emotional reaction. According to his mother, the film that he was often referring to was The Passion of the Christ, and had deeply moved Parker in such a way that many had often described his behavior as rather unusual in the days prior to his sudden disappearance. Regardless of these facts, Parker's cousin believes that Jeremiah's disappearance is related to the strange fishing pond located at the North Sherwood Forest Park. Though the Louisiana Department of Wildlife and Fisheries states that no dangerous animals live in the pond, such as the commonly sighted alligators throughout the Louisiana region, the cousin is convinced that a large creature must have attacked and dragged Jeremiah Parker deep underwater. No further evidence has surfaced in recent years surrounding the incident. Recently, a video captured from the International Space Station's live camera feed has sparked an intense wave of speculation and discussion online. Though the footage was originally recorded in 2023, it has recently gained renewed attention and has been widely circulated across social media, being shared thousands of times. The footage, recorded while the station was passing over Western Australia on the 10th of December, 2023, appeared to show a mysterious, massive linear structure hovering above the Earth's surface. Almost immediately after this unusual formation became visible in the frame, the live stream abruptly glitched and went offline. For many, this sequence of events was far from coincidental. It followed a now familiar pattern that has raised suspicions for years. The video quickly spread through online communities dedicated to tracking unidentified aerial phenomena, strange space anomalies, and International Space Station broadcasts. Regular viewers of the live feed were among the first to react. They noted that this was not the first time such a mysterious occurrence had ended with a sudden loss of transmission. According to these observers, whenever the International Space Station camera captures an unexplained object or formation, the feed frequently cuts out, goes to a static screen, or temporarily loses connectivity. This recurring behavior has left many to wonder whether something is being deliberately hidden from public view. The object in question was not an ordinary glitch or cloud formation. It appeared to stretch for hundreds of miles, forming a nearly straight line over Earth's atmosphere, casting a faint yet visible shadow across the cloud layer. This line was sharp and defined, very unlike the fluid and chaotic patterns created by natural atmospheric activity. What puzzled many further was the fact that the footage came from a live broadcast, not from satellite image mosaics or software-stitched data like what is often seen on platforms such as Google Earth. Live camera feeds, by their very nature, are not pieced together post-capture. Therefore, anomalies like this cannot simply be explained away as data rendering issues. As the mysterious formation lingered on screen, the space station camera seemed to freeze momentarily, then glitch, and eventually go dark altogether. This abrupt interruption raised eyebrows. People watching in real time noted how this timing was highly suspicious. To them, it felt less like a technical fault and more like an intentional cut designed to remove the unexplained from public view. This suspicion is rooted in a long-standing belief among UFO researchers and space anomaly enthusiasts that certain unexplained events are routinely redacted from the public eye. Throughout the years, there have been other occasions when International Space Station live streams have cut out immediately after unidentified objects entered the frame. Small, fast-moving dots, orb-like objects traveling in non-linear trajectories, and even structural-looking anomalies have been seen briefly before the screen turns blue or black. NASA has previously attributed these disruptions to technical limitations or routine switching between cameras. However, this explanation does little to satisfy those who have watched dozens of similar occurrences unfold with uncanny consistency. This new incident stands out because of the scale and clarity of the line-like object. Unlike previous cases that often involved fleeting or blurred objects, The structure in this video appeared prominently and lingered long enough for multiple screenshots and screen recordings to be captured. It did not resemble any known satellite shadow, contrail, or atmospheric phenomenon. Its sharp, geometric nature made it stand apart from the organic curves of weather patterns or cloud masses. Viewers also noted that it seemed to be too high in the atmosphere to be caused by an Earth-based feature or reflection. Theories about what this object might be vary widely. Some believe it could be a form of cloaked satellite or extraterrestrial craft, either intentionally or unintentionally revealing part of its structure. Others propose that it might be a kind of energy field or artificial barrier, something not yet understood or disclosed by current science. A few speculate that the object could even be evidence of large-scale atmospheric project, pointing to the precise nature of the line as potential proof of artificial origins. There are also those who focus less on the object itself and more on the broader pattern of suppression. These individuals argue that what matters most is not the anomaly, but the response to it. They highlight that whenever such objects are visible, the same series of events unfolds. The feed cuts out, no official explanation is given, and the public is left to piece together what they saw through secondary uploads and private archives. To them, the consistency of these responses points to an organized attempt to manage perception and limit open discussion about what may be happening in Earth's orbit and beyond. Some experts in image analysis and live feed broadcasting have weighed in, suggesting that video compression artifacts, lens reflections, or signal interference could account for the anomaly. However, even these explanations do not fully account for why the camera would then abruptly cut off completely. If the issue was technical, why not resume the feed once stabilized? Why is there rarely a follow-up from official sources to explain what occurred? More than anything, the mysterious event over Western Australia serves as a reminder of how little we truly know about what happens beyond our immediate perception. The vastness of space, the complexity of Earth's upper atmosphere, and the growing number of classified projects orbiting the planet create an environment ripe for secrecy and speculation. For those who have long suspected that much more is occurring above us than is publicly admitted, this video serves as yet another piece in an ever-growing puzzle. It also reignites discussions around transparency. As space becomes more commercialized and more private companies launch their own observational satellites, the monopoly on space-based imagery may eventually erode. With more eyes pointed skyward and more live data streams becoming available, it might become harder to suppress footage of unexplained phenomena. Until then, however, incidents like the one over Western Australia will continue to fuel debate, intrigue, and the belief that somewhere in the skies above, something strange is happening, and someone may be working hard to make sure we don't see it. Ultimately, whether the anomaly was a rare glitch, a natural but misunderstood phenomenon, or something more extraordinary, the manner in which the situation was handled only deepens the mystery. The International Space Station, a representation of global cooperation and scientific research, is located in the immense emptiness of space, where humanity's reach reaches beyond the limits of our planet. However, in 2015, a unique incident disturbed the peace of this orbiting laboratory, as an unidentified flying object was photographed by the International Space Station's cameras, igniting curiosity, conjecture, and discussion among astronomers, researchers, and enthusiasts worldwide. The incident occurred in 2015, when the International Space Station's live video feed captured footage of a large, triangular-shaped object approaching the station's cameras from a distance. As the object drew closer, it appeared to change course, maneuvering with remarkable agility and precision through the vacuum of space. Toby Lund, a UFO researcher, was following the live stream when he saw a sizable object emerge. He swiftly snapped a screenshot of the object and said that he was glad he did, as the live feed abruptly stopped as soon as the object was visible. According to UFO researchers who monitor the live stream, this is actually a frequent occurrence. The feed will mysteriously stop any time an unusual object is visible to the cameras. Researchers have concluded that this is the extent officials will go to in order to prevent us from learning the truth. Several news outlets said that they never received a response from NASA when they attempted to inquire about their thoughts on what they believed the item to be. This is one of the more well-known images of a purported UFO spotted near the space station, and according to believers, the craft in question is a big triangular object which is well known in the UFO community as one of the most frequently cited UFOs. These craft reportedly have the ability to silently hover in the skies and swiftly depart the area when necessary. Researchers disagree as to which group these crafts belong. Some claim that these are the military's new stealth line, while others argue that this is unlikely given that some of these moon-shaped objects have been spotted in close proximity to the moon. The appearance of the UFO on the ISS's cameras prompted speculation about its origin, nature, and purpose, and some suggested that it could be a natural phenomenon, such as a meteor or space debris caught in the glare of the station's lights. However, due to how clear the object is, it's caused many to consider other possibilities. One theory proposed by enthusiasts is that the mysterious object is of extraterrestrial origin, a spacecraft piloted by beings from another world, exploring our solar system and observing human activity in orbit. This hypothesis, while speculative, is supported by the long history of UFO sightings and encounters reported by astronauts, cosmonauts, and space agencies throughout the history of space exploration. Another possibility is that the mysterious aircraft was a secret military or experimental craft developed by terrestrial governments to test advanced propulsion systems or surveillance technologies in the near-Earth environment. While this theory cannot be ruled out entirely, the international nature of the ISS and the transparency of its operations make it unlikely that such a craft would be deployed in close proximity to the station without prior notification or coordination. In the years since the encounter, efforts to identify and explain the UFO seen near the International Space Station in 2015 have yielded few definitive answers. While some have dismissed the incident as a mundane anomaly or camera artifact, others remain convinced that it represents compelling evidence of extraterrestrial visitation or technological prowess beyond our current understanding. Interestingly enough, one of the most remarkable aspects of UFO sightings captured by the International Space Station's cameras is the sheer variety and diversity of the objects observed. From luminous orbs to metallic cylinders, these unidentified objects exhibit a wide range of shapes, sizes, and behaviors as they traverse the vacuum of space. Some appear to move with deliberate purpose, executing intricate maneuvers and changing course with astonishing agility, while others drift lazily through the cosmic void, their movements seemingly defying the laws of physics. The appearance of UFOs near the space station has sparked intense speculation and debate among astronomers, and even astronauts alike, with many of them coming forward with their own encounters. As of right now, the phenomenon of UFOs captured by the International Space Station's cameras represents a tantalizing mystery that continues to captivate and intrigue scientists, scholars, and enthusiasts around the world. While skeptics may dismiss these sightings as anomalies or camera artifacts, the weight of evidence and testimony from credible sources suggests that there may be more to the story than meets the eye. As mentioned, amidst the routine observations and scientific experiments conducted aboard the space station, there exists a puzzling phenomenon which has been observed by thousands of people: the sudden shutdown of the live feed when unidentified flying objects appear. The International Space Station is equipped with high-definition cameras and advanced sensors, and it continuously monitors Earth's atmosphere and observes celestial phenomena, transmitting live footage to ground control centers and audiences worldwide. However, on several occasions, the space station's live feed has abruptly terminated when unidentified objects have been observed in its vicinity, sparking speculation and conspiracy theories about the reasons behind these shutdowns. One possible explanation for the shutdown of the ISS's live feed in the presence of UFOs is the implementation of a security protocol or safety procedure by space agencies and government authorities. In the event of an unidentified object approaching the space station, it is conceivable that mission control personnel would prioritize the safety and security of the astronauts aboard the station, opting to temporarily suspend the live feed until the situation can be assessed and the risk mitigated. Such measures would be consistent with standard operating procedures for handling potential threats in space and ensuring the welfare of crew members. Another possibility is that the shutdown of the space station's live feed is a deliberate attempt to conceal the presence of UFOs from the public and prevent widespread panic or speculation. Given the potential implications of extraterrestrial visitation or advanced technologies beyond our current understanding, It is conceivable that government agencies or space authorities may seek to control the narrative surrounding such encounters, maintaining secrecy and confidentiality to avoid causing alarm or disruption. While this explanation may seem far-fetched, it aligns with historical instances of government secrecy and censorship regarding sensitive information related to national security and defense. Furthermore, the sudden shutdown of the International Space Station's live feed in the presence of UFOs could be attributed to technical malfunctions or interference caused by the electromagnetic fields generated by these unidentified objects. As UFOs approach the space station or enter its vicinity, they may emit electromagnetic radiation or energy fields that disrupt the functioning of electronic equipment, including cameras and communication systems. In such cases, mission control personnel may be compelled to suspend the live feed temporarily until the interference subsides, or corrective measures can be implemented to restore normal operations. Whether the UFOs observed near the space station are evidence of extraterrestrial visitation, advanced terrestrial technologies, or something else entirely, their presence in our skies challenges us to re-examine our understanding of the cosmos and our place within it. Until we unravel the truth behind these extraordinary encounters, the mystery of UFOs near the ISS will continue to inspire wonder and curiosity, inviting us to explore the vast reaches of space and unlock the secrets of the universe. Robert Monroe, born in the year 1915, was not a scientist by profession, but rather a successful radio executive. Yet his name has become synonymous with some of the most groundbreaking discoveries in the exploration of human consciousness. Through unexpected and profound personal experiences, Monroe began a journey that would not only alter his own understanding of existence, but would go on to impact thousands across the globe through his research, books, and the founding of the Monroe Institute. One of the most compelling aspects of Monroe's life's work lies in his accounts of the non-physical world, particularly his discovery that the Earth is surrounded by multiple energetic bands where consciousness gathers after the transition from physical life. It all began in the year 1958, when Monroe experienced a spontaneous out-of-body episode. He felt powerful vibrations coursing through his body and then found himself outside of it, observing from a different perspective. What started as a terrifying event eventually became a doorway to a lifetime of exploration. Rather than suppress these experiences, Monroe leaned into them, eventually developing controlled techniques for achieving what he called out-of-body experiences. His lifelong research, documented in books such as Journeys Out of the Body, Far Journeys, and Ultimate Journey, has continued to inspire researchers, spiritual seekers, and institutions alike, including a relationship with the Central Intelligence Agency, which took interest in Monroe's techniques for expanding consciousness through non-ordinary means. Central to Monroe's later explorations was the discovery of what he termed bands, or energetic zones that exist around the Earth. These bands, according to Monroe, serve as zones where human consciousness collects after the physical body is no longer inhabited. The bands are shaped by an individual's level of consciousness, beliefs, and personal resonance. What makes these findings so compelling is that these levels not only determine the individual's experience after passing on, but also shed light on the evolution of consciousness as a whole. The first band is perhaps the most chaotic. It is a place Monroe described as a turbulent region filled with dense and discordant energies. Beings in this zone are often unaware they are no longer in their physical bodies. Many attempt to continue their routines as if they are still alive, interacting with the physical world to no avail. Others seem stuck in an unconscious limbo, existing in a kind of stasis. Monroe viewed this band as a place of confusion, where thoughts are scattered and purpose is often absent. Within this first band, there are several subgroups. One group contains those who have left their bodies but remain emotionally and mentally tied to the physical world. They may not even realize their transition. Another subgroup includes those in active out-of-body states who have momentarily left their physical form but are expected to return. From a higher perspective, Monroe noted that these beings seemed to simply vanish mid-action as they re-entered their physical form. The first band, then, appears to be an echo of life, filled with thoughts and behaviors that have yet to dissolve. Moving deeper, the third band presents a more structured, yet equally complex domain. This band is characterized by powerful belief systems, particularly those shaped by religion or ideology. Consciousness within this zone tends to organize itself into large communities based on shared beliefs about what occurs after death. Here, thought creates reality. Whether one expects a paradise, a judgmental overseer, or even total nothingness, the individual manifests an experience aligned with that expectation. Monroe emphasized that this band is vast and highly fragmented. Beings in this space may remain for long durations, entangled in cycles of belief that prevent them from moving forward. It is a band of manipulation, games of power, and unresolved desires. One particularly vivid vision Monroe shared was of rows upon rows of entities lying in stasis, each caught in their own belief-created bubble of reality. Unless an individual understands that consciousness, intent, and energy co-create experience, they may remain locked in these realms for extended periods of time. There are also other, stranger regions within these bands. In one instance, Monroe observed a bizarre expression of physical craving. He saw a mass of non-physical, human-like forms attempting to engage in physical pleasures that were no longer possible due to their lack of a physical body. The result was a scene of frustration and confusion, highlighting how even after the body is left behind, attachments to its desires may persist. Monroe's work shows that many beings, particularly those accustomed to control or hierarchy, resist entering environments where typical rules no longer apply. They are unwilling to surrender the power they once held in life, making it difficult for them to comprehend love, compassion, and other higher emotional frequencies. This resistance becomes a trap, locking them into lower vibration realms. In Far Journeys, Monroe detailed an extraordinary experience where he was transported forward in time to a version of Earth around the year 3000. What he found was stunning. The familiar dark bands around the Earth had disappeared. Instead, a single luminous ring floated in place, humming with communication and resonance. It was no longer cluttered with the noise and chaos of previous energies. The Earth itself had transformed. There were no signs of pollution, overcrowding, or industrial clutter. The surface of the planet appeared pristine and healthy, not because of disaster and recovery, but because of intentional, conscious change. Monroe encountered beings who explained that they no longer needed permanent physical bodies. Instead, they created temporary forms when necessary, what they called containers, which were kept safe in cocoons of energy when not in use. These beings communicated telepathically and had abilities far beyond anything imaginable in the 20th century. They demonstrated the capacity to manifest objects, such as food, using pure thought. One even offered Monroe a piece of fruit that he could taste and enjoy, entirely created by consciousness. More remarkable still, these beings had developed a process called compressed learning. Through this method, they could experience the life of any living creature on Earth, from a tree to an animal to a human, by connecting their consciousness to that being. They would gain insight and understanding in a matter of seconds, then return to their usual form with enhanced wisdom and empathy. These beings had moved beyond the survival-driven ways of old Earth. They didn't sleep, they didn't eat in the traditional sense, and they could shift between physical and non-physical states with ease. They had grown beyond fear, including the primal fear of pain and being consumed. Even these experiences, they said, could be entered and exited without harm. Monroe was told that before arriving in this future Earth, every new soul must first experience one full life on the planet as it was during the older time periods. This was part of the understanding process. These singular lifetimes provided a context for appreciation and insight before moving into the new, light-filled phase of Earth's evolution. This revelation echoes Monroe's deeper belief that Earth is a kind of school for consciousness, a challenging, often chaotic place, yet one that provides extraordinary opportunities for growth. The experiences here, pain, joy, struggle, connection, help consciousness evolve in ways that are not possible elsewhere. Those who complete the Earth cycle move on, never needing to return. They transition to states of being that are no longer tied to physical density and polarity. In his final book, Ultimate Journey, Monroe returned to many of these concepts, framing them through a deeper philosophical lens. His desire to understand the ultimate destination of consciousness and to bring that understanding to others remained at the core of his mission. Robert Monroe's legacy endures through the Monroe Institute, which continues to research human consciousness using sound technology and meditation. His hemi-sync system, designed to synchronize the brain's hemispheres, has been used by thousands seeking altered states, spiritual insight, and healing. Monroe was more than just an explorer of out-of-body experiences. He was a mapmaker of the soul's journey. Through courage, curiosity, and scientific inquiry, he revealed a world far larger than the physical and pointed the way to a future where humanity may truly evolve beyond the boundaries of form. His work invites each individual to ask deeper questions about life, death, and what it means to truly be conscious.